Ladies and gentlemen, we got ourselves a pay-per-view. UFC 321 is here. Aspinall versus Gane. Let's not beat around the bush. We're just going to go ahead and get straight on into her. Pretty decent card overall. Set to take place this Saturday, October 25th. And it's a bit of an early card for you, which is unusual for a pay-per-view, so don't forget that. 1 o'clock Central Time, so just accordingly. I believe that, again, is because it's taking place in Yas Island in the UAE. So they're going to throw together a early pay-per-view for these fellas. Decent card. We got the usual 5 fights on the main card and then quite a few prelims strung together. Decent set of prelims. We'll take a look at those at maybe after the fact, but per usual, we're going to spend the main thrust of our time solely on the main card itself and those 5 fights. Go ahead and we'll just get straight on into it. Let me pull up my notes here. First fight on it, we have Alexander Rakic versus Azamat Murzakanov. Let me pull up my Sherdog because I don't have those going in my Bavada. Oh, Alexander Rakic, tall drink of water, big old bastard, 6'4", just jacked to the gills. Not the most technical guy on planet Earth. He's kind of one of these dudes who has kind of some inconsistent performances, but then when he actually puts it together, you're like, okay, this dude might be something here. Coming off 3 losses in a row, though, so really needs to go out there and get something done. 33 years old. He's 14-5, 9 wins by KO, 1 by sub, 4 by decision. Been KO'd twice, lost once by submission, and twice by decision. Like I said, really needs to put one together here. Not the most active guy on planet Earth. He had a couple bad injuries. If I remember, it was something like with his knee that derailed him for quite a while. Chin's not the greatest. Got a little tiny head atop that giant body, so I guess maybe it just doesn't hold up as well to the damage. Orthodox, longer stance, kind of the wide stance there, which leaves the legs out there to get chewed up. Does a lot of his work with his rear leg, with the power leg, throwing him to the body, occasionally going upstairs. A little bit of the patty cake with the hand fighting up front with the lead hand, and throws a couple straight shots. Chin up a little bit in the air, might get caught. Does get caught a fair bit and might get caught here in this fight. Looking at old Azamat Murzakanov, 36, so 3-year age advantage for Mr. Rakic. 15-0, though, undefeated record. Maybe not fighting the same level of competition, but still pretty juicy record. Just a little bit less experience than Mr. Rakic with the 3 years being 3 years older. You'd actually expect it to be the opposite. But coming off, I was going to say a couple wins in a row. He's coming off 15 wins in a row is actually what he's coming off of. But a couple in the UFC here, putting him back-to-back. 2 KOs in a row, one over Alonzo Menafield, one over Brinson Ribeiro back in June. 11 of his wins have been by knockout, 1 by submission, 3 by decision. So clearly favors the striking. Southpaw, not a very big guy for the division, 5'10" to Rakic's 6'4", so there's going to be quite a size discrepancy here. Very fast, though. Very, very fast. Does a lot of his work with his left hand, his power hand. Both throwing like kind of the dipping off to the side and throwing the big overhands over the top, and then he also hits the counter left hook pretty well. Seems to have an okay ground game. Brinson Ribeiro shot in on him after getting hurt, and Azamat was able to turn the hips and rotate him over and get into like a full mount position relatively easily. Now, of course, Ribeiro was hurt when this was going down, so it leaves you to wonder like how well is he going to be doing this kind of stuff whenever a guy's not hurt. So we'll see. The physicality and stuff I think is obviously going to be in favor of old Rakic. Is it enough to overcome Azamat? Is the competition level enough that he's going to fare better with that experience advantage as well? I don't know, man. The way he leaves his chin up in the air, I kind of think Azamat might actually catch him and put him away. Now, do we have any kind of odds yet as far as props and such? I kind of doubt it. Am I missing it here? No, right there. Yeah, we don't have the odds yet. I'd take Azamat Murzakanov in this one. I'm going to take him straight up. You could probably also play him by KO and see how that fares for you. Number 10 in division is going to be moving on up. That's what I'm saying with here. Next up, one of the first heavyweight bouts of the evening, or at least of the main card, we have Alexander Volkov versus Jelton Almeida. Alexander Volkov, the biggest dude in this division at this point in time, I believe, 6'7". Used to be Stefan Struve, who was like 6'11" or something, but I think Volkov's the biggest one now. 36 years old, 38-11 records, won 24 wins by KO, 4 wins by submission, 10 by decision. Lost twice by KO, 3 times by sub, 6 times by decision. Most recently coming off that decision loss almost a year ago to Cyril Gane. That was last December. Kind of a weird BS decision, depending on who you ask. A lot of people thought he won that. I'd have to go back and rewatch that one. For this one, I actually watched the previous fight for taking notes and stuff. I watched a little bit of it, but from what I remember, I actually thought Gane did win it. So we'll see. I have to go back and rewatch it. Volkov, though, big old bastard. Really been working and still progressing even at 36 years of age, which a lot of these guys are kind of set in their ways at that age. You really still see Volkov getting better. Also still putting on size and filling out. So I don't know, say whatever you want about Russian supplements at this age. At 36, you don't see a lot of guys putting on a lot more muscle, and he is still getting bigger. Technically pretty sound, put together pretty well. He's orthodox, a little flat-footed, but that's kind of his style. He's not one of these guys who's got a ton of movement laterally, which, you know, heavyweights, you don't generally see that anyway. Kind of a slow, plodding, moving forward, eating up ground, closing the gap to you, working just at the edge of his reach so he can land and hopefully keep you from landing, given the size difference that he generally has over these guys. He's an okay strength guy here. Like, we're talking like a 7 or 8 in the strength. Pretty well rounded, actually, I guess. So, like the Mario, but just all his stats got dumped into into height, rather. All his attributes got dumped into height. I can't talk right now, apparently. Not a ton of power. Okay cardio. Like, he's pretty well rounded. Really, the one standout thing is his height. You would think he would maybe have a little bit more strength given his size, but he was getting out-muscled by Cyril Gane in their fight. Hard to put much stock into that because Cyril Gane's a bit of a freak. Decent clinch game, though. Good knees, good body work, hitting the elbows in the clinch occasionally. Good jab, 1-2. Kind of a lower volume output guy. Puts together his shots pretty well when he chooses them, though, but he's a little select with it. Rips the kicks to the body pretty well when he chooses to use those. As big as his legs are, I'd actually like to see those a little bit more sometimes. In this fight, you might want to be a little bit careful doing that, though. Old Volkov. Because you're going against a guy in Jelton Almeida, 34 years old, a guy who clearly likes to wrestle, 22-3, 8 wins by KO, 13 by submission, 1 by decision, 2 losses by KO and 1 by decision. Guy clearly favors the grappling, loves the wrestling, gets you to the ground, and then works his jiu-jitsu. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but like I said, he also has good wrestling. Maybe not the most technically sound in the wrestling department. He's not doing fancy throws and trips and shit like Islam and Khabib and these guys, but he got a good double leg. He gets it on you, gets it on the hips, and really plows through and finishes the takedown. Get this pouch out. Another physical freak, kind of like Cyril Gane, like Alexander Volkov's last opponent. Maybe not quite to the same extent as Cyril Gane, but it ain't far off. This dude's a beast. Little undersized maybe for heavyweight. He's kind of on the lighter end of that there. And, you know, you have Volkov at the heavier end of that. So I wonder how the weight's going to play into it. If Almeida's going to be able to get 1 or 2 takedowns while he's fresh. And then as the weight starts to become a factor as he gets a little more tired. Striking, not the greatest. Working on it a little bit, but it leaves a lot to be desired. I think Volkov has a clear advantage in that department. And if he's able to keep it on the feet or at least get back to his feet, I think he has a pretty clear path to victory in the striking. Can he do it? I don't know, man. Volkov was getting taken down by Cyril Gane. Tom Aspinall took him down and finished him. Almeida's a black belt. It's like, you know that's his path to victory, but does that mean that Volkov's going to be able to stop it when he's been struggling there in the past? I don't know. Minus 230. I would probably hedge this one to play here. Maybe take Almeida by submission or inside the distance and then hedge it with like a Volkov decision, something like that. May not be bad, or you could just take Volkov's money line. Over 1.5, actually like here is not too bad. I'll put that down for it as well. Over 1.5, minus 120, not too bad. If not, we're going to hedge it. Almeida sub or inside the distance, depending on how far down those odds come. And then a Volkov money line or decision, something like that. That would be my guess. Fun scrap there, though. I'd actually like to see Volkov win that one. I'm not a huge Almeida fan. I think I think he's got good grappling, but I think a lot of what he does, he's getting by on his physicality and his horsepower because heavyweight is not the most talented division. So we'll see. Volkov might be able to bridge that gap a little bit, enough to at least stuff Almeida and then get it done on the feet. Next up, and I would say maybe the most exciting technical matchup of the night, of the entire card, in my opinion, we have Umar Nurmagomedov versus Mario Bautista. A fight here that also has probably, I would think, some kind of title implications next. Probably the winner of this, I would think, might get the next shot at Merab after Petr Yan, assuming Merab wins that fight. So Umar Nurmagomedov, 18-1, going against Mario Bautista, 16-2. Umar Nurmagomedov of the Khabib Nurmagomedovs, Dagestani. I can't even really call him a wrestler. He's actually a pretty well-rounded fighter and maybe even favors the striking. 29 years old, 18-1, 2 wins by KO, 7 by sub, 9 by decision. He's only lost 1 time by decision. His most recent fight against Merab Dvalishvili back in January. Very well-rounded fighter, as I've already mentioned. Versatile striker. He's nimble, dexterous, has great kicks, gets him up top very easily. It seems like he's not struggling to do any of that kind of shit. Very nimble, kicks up the middle. Great 1-2, good jab, front leg kick. He actually does a lot of his work where I was saying, who was it earlier? I was saying Volkov or somebody does. Oh, Rakic was doing a lot of work with his rear leg. Umar does a surprising amount with his front leg, which goes to that dexterous component that I was speaking of. Bringing that front leg up and over people's guards, almost like a question mark kick and landing on them. Very slick with it. Pretty big for the division as well. Clearly very strong. Was given, honestly, that fight with Merab was incredibly close. A lot of people said he won that fight, though I do think that was generally a particular fan base that was saying that. Probably, I don't know. It's hard to say who has the speed advantage in this one. Mario Bautista is 32 years old, 16-2. I guess we'll get into him real quick before I start saying who's going to win. 8 wins in a row, 16-2, 3 wins by KO, 6 by sub, 7 by decisions. Lost once by KO and once by sub. His most recent decision win over Patchy Mix, is a pretty good one. Patchy, champ of another organization coming over, trying to make a big splash on the scene. Mario Bautista said, "Hey, buddy, hold my beer," and proceeds to basically beat the fuck out of him. Mario Bautista doesn't have the most incredible power, but he does have decent pop. Little basic, kind of your meat and potatoes, a lot of 1-2s, basic shots, but he puts it together really well. Great wrestler, obviously built like a brick shithouse. I'm very curious who's going to have the power advantage here. I would think maybe Umar, while fresh, is going to have the raw strength, but Mario just strikes me as one of these dudes who's a motherfucker. Like, you grab a hold of him and you're just like, oh, this guy's unreal. He's something else. Likes to hop off to the side and fire the 1-2 and lands it pretty well. Right straight to the body, lands pretty well. I think one of maybe his best advantages is his fight IQ and his composure. Now, I think that's in most fights. I don't necessarily know that he's going to have that over Umar, but I definitely don't think he's going to be rattled by the name or by the implications of winning this fight. I don't think that's going to be something that's going to be playing in his mind and affect his performance. I think he's going to go on there and put on the best performance pretty much no matter who he's fighting. It's going to take something really crazy to rattle Bautista. I would say Umar is probably the better, more well-rounded fighter, probably has the deeper bag of tricks, more tools at his disposal. But I think Mario has just got this weird factor, just this weird, tough, stubborn motherfucker factor. And at plus 450, those odds are stupid. And I would play those odds. I would play those odds at plus 450. You could probably get them even higher, take them by decision, take the over 2.5, take them by decision. Like I said, though, Umar should win this fight, but at plus 450, those odds are stupid. Mario should be like Mario should be like a plus 300, not a plus 450. Umar, a 3-1 favorite, something like that. These odds are just goofy. He should not be a 6-1 favorite here. So Mario, by grueling decision, is what I'm going to pick here. Just for the money. Yeah, just for the money. Main event challenge, if I was playing it that way, I would still probably go with Umar, even though there's no money to be made. Next up, Co-main of the evening, first title fight of the night, and actually another very good one in my opinion. We have number 1 women strawweight in the world. I really cannot talk tonight. Number 1 women's strawweight in the world, Virna Jandiroba, versus number 5 in the world, Mackenzie Dern. You have old Virna Jandiroba. Let's pull her stats up. Old Kakara. 22-3, 37 years old. She's won once by KO, 14 wins by submission, 7 by decision. She's only ever lost by decision, never been finished. Let me pull this up here. This car's bugging the shit out of me, and I just got to pull it up over to the side while we're looking at the other stuff here. All right, well, it's got too many miles. Any hoozles. 5'3", so not exactly like a towering physical specimen at strawweight, but I think she's one of these girls, not dissimilar actually to old Mario Bautista here, who one of these fighters, deceptively strong. You grab a hold of them, and you're like, oh, I'm getting ready to get taken for a ride here. This person's gonna toss the shit out of me until they get tired. Very technical, very wet blanket heavy grappling style. I think she's one of these people who once she gets a position on you, she's very hard to get out of that position. She's just going to weigh down, remain very heavy. Great base. Every time I see people trying to sweep her and stuff, she seems like she just rides them real well. She'll go into like a floating type of jiu-jitsu stance and then kind of plant herself back down and get wet blankety. Not the greatest striking. Pretty basic. I think she's almost exclusively using her striking to set up her grappling, get a takedown, grab a hold of you, and yank you to the ground. She likes to do like kind of the stepping over, pulling you to the ground with like the hip toss and almost like judo style throws. Clinch up with you, get it on the hips, and dump you down, or step around and get the trip. A little slow. Not like the fastest, most explosive chick out there. I worry in this one, Mackenzie Dern is actually relatively quick and pretty explosive in the striking department, so I worry that old Kakara might get caught. But she's never been put away with the striking, so you'd like to see the chin hold up here. Decent ground and pound. Submissions are pretty good. I don't know that she's going to be catching submissions on Mackenzie Dern. Speaking of which, we'll move into Mackenzie. 15-5, 32 years old. Never won by KO. 8 submission wins, 7 decisions. She's been KO'd once and lost 4 times by decision. I know at least one of her wins, though. I can pretty distinctly remember her dropping a girl with a big overhand. So that goes to, like I was saying, decent power, decent pop, and giving her prowess on the ground. She's not afraid to perhaps overexpose herself, throwing a big shot, and risking something like that, because if she does get taken down, it's not like you're really going to do a whole hell of a lot to her on the ground anyway. Like, you really got to be top notch to do something to her on the ground. I think she's going to have a speed advantage here. Physically, maybe while fresh, she might be a hair stronger, but I actually think Virna is probably going to be just fine in that department, and given her jiu-jitsu experience, I don't know that she's going to get exposed very much. Man, for the odds especially here, a lot of people going with Mackenzie Dern, and I guess maybe I'm just missing something. The age is in favor of Mackenzie, and I think maybe the physicality while fresh is in favor of Mackenzie, but I would say Jandiroba might be a little more technically sound on the ground. If we were doing just a strictly like sport jiu-jitsu match, I would pick Dern, but for MMA jiu-jitsu, Virna is really good at maintaining position, and one of the things that comes back, at least as far as when I'm like considering this matchup here, it comes to mind is Amanda Ribas's ability to kind of control Mackenzie Dern a little bit on the ground. Like, she tossed her a couple times, and she was able to remain safe for, literally like 98% of that fight. She ended up tapping her with, well, there you go. I was going to say with like 4 seconds left. It was with exactly 4 seconds left. So I don't think Amanda Ribas is the grappler that Virna Jandiroba is, to be honest with you. She's maybe a little bit better of a judo player, but this isn't judo. This is MMA, and I think Virna is the more complete MMA grappler. So for the odds, I'll go Virna. I'd say probably by decision. In a 5-round fight, who knows? Maybe she'll grind her out or something like that, but the move here, if you wanted to hedge, maybe take Mackenzie Dern inside the distance and then Virna by decision. For the odds, I think this is effectively a toss-up fight, or maybe a hair in favor of Virna. So you're getting plus money on her. I would take her, and I'm fully prepared to be wrong. We'll do Virna. Money line, plus 147. We'll take it. All right. Last but not least, the heavyweight main event of the evening. Heavyweight strap on the line. We have one of my favorite fighters, Tom Aspinall versus France's own Cyril Gane. They have pretty comparable careers here, 15-3 against 13-2. Tom Aspinall, 6'5", to Cyril Gane, 6'4", two physical fucking freaks. Tom Aspinall, 32 years old, 15-3, 12 wins by KO, 3 by sub. Never gone the distance in one of his wins. Lost once by KO, once by submission, and once other. Most recently, coming off hasn't fought in a little over a year and a couple months. Curtis Blades last July. I mean, what do you even say about this guy? He's, like I said, he's a physical freak. He's lightning quick, great striking, puts his boxing together pretty well. Great jiu-jitsu. His dad was one of the first black belts in the UK, from what I understand. Tom is clearly very strong. He is the upper end of the heavyweight limit while also moving like a fucking middleweight. It doesn't really make a ton of sense. He closes the distance lightning quick, really great at getting in on the hips, getting the takedowns, securing dominant position, getting the submissions. He's just an all-around great fighter. Now, weaknesses, because if you're going to analyze it, you can't just solely talk about everything you like about a fighter just because he's like one of your favorites. I worry his chin climbs up there a little bit. I worry sometimes also he gets caught in some of these exchanges. He's willing to stand in the pocket and exchange with some of these guys when I think he has better grappling than a lot of these dudes, and instead he chooses to go the feet route, stands up and trades, and I think somebody against a extremely high-level striker like Cyril Gane, that could potentially be a problem, the way his chin wades up in the air. His knee, he had the knee injury, and Cyril Gane, knowing that, might attack the knees. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, that's about it as far as weaknesses go. Going against the guy here, though, Bongamin, Cyril Gane, 35 years old, 13-2, 6 wins by KO, 3 by submission, 4 by decision. He's lost once by submission, once by decision. 2 wins in a row, most recently coming off the split decision win against Alexander Volkov last December that we were just touching on. Again, another physical freak, lightning quick. Honestly, the more decorated and probably technical striker of the two. He's got a pretty extensive kickboxing background, extremely nimble, great front kicks. His kick game in general is just freakish for a heavyweight, crazy fast. Fights a little short for his size. You would maybe expect him to fight a little bit longer in the range. Great elbows, though. I mean, just shutting dudes out. The shit he did to Tai Tuivasa was disgusting, but also he got caught by Tai Tuivasa. Speaking about his weaknesses, though, great mobility, but I think he spends entirely too much time on the bike at times, and his complacency will lose him fights on scorecards, I believe, sometimes. Also, his grappling is a clear weakness. He struggled against one high-level grappler, one guy who doesn't have high-level grappling, and still put it on him with it. Francis Ngannou got some takedowns on him and really won that fight utilizing the grappling. And then, of course, John Jones, who made him look amateurish in the grappling, like secured the takedown up against the cage, got him stuck there, secured the legs. If I remember right, he maybe triangled around the legs, but it ultimately established like a dominant position against Cyril Gane, who was sitting up against the cage, and then got like a front, kind of like a guillotine front choke on him and tapped him no time flat. So it seems to me, at least, there's a couple pretty clear paths to victory for Tom Aspinall, and there's effectively one, maybe two for Cyril Gane, but it's ultimately one game plan, which is centered around the striking, whereas Tom Aspinall has the hands, has the power that he could potentially shut Cyril Gane out, because Cyril Gane has been hurt and caught and hurt before. Maybe I should have flipped those around, but even more so, it's very, why would you not go out there and shoot a blast double on Cyril Gane, or trade with him for a minute to get him guessing, chop some low kicks or something, get him guessing, secure some sort of takedown and get a Kimura or an RNC or ground and pound him out, do something, get a dominant top half guard, real heavy, get the hook around his hips and just fucking hammer him out, put him away. So I'd like to see that happening. I think Tom Aspinall has the tools to get it done. Has more tools at his disposal, a deeper bag of tricks, if you will. For the odds, it's hard to play Tom Aspinall on a money line. You're probably going to have to play him inside the distance, something like that. I do think Tom gets it done. There's money to be made on Cyril Gane inside the distance. Any heavyweight can win, landing, the big punch, the fluke punch, or the other fighter comes in and then they throw something big and you can clip somebody with your forearm. We've seen that happen before at heavyweight and knock somebody out. So there's always the freak chance of that, and when the odds start getting real lopsided, it's worth a tiny sprinkle on the other guy. But ultimately, I do think Aspinall gets it done. We're seeing a once-in-a-generation talent here. I'd like to see Aspinall reign for quite some time, cement the legacy as the best heavyweight champ of all time. I'd like to see him and Poatan at the White House next year. That's kind of the storyline we're seeing come together. Poatan has regained the light heavyweight strap, so we'll see Tom Aspinall defend the heavyweight strap, come together for a absolutely insane card at the White House. That's what we're seeing here. So that is it, folks. UFC 321 in the bag. Should be a good card. We will put out our bets per usual on Twitter ahead of time. Oh, you know what? While we're at it, let's take a look at the prelims too, just see what we got there. 2 sets of prelims. Is that right? Nope, 1 set of prelims. 9 a.m. Early as shit. Jacqueline Amorim, Mizuki, never heard of her. One name. You got to think she's pretty great. Azat Maksum versus Mitch Raposo. I'd go Azat Maksum. I have the Kazakhstani connection there, so I always am going to root for those guys. At minus 360, not a lot of money to be made. I take the over 2.5 or take Azat by decision. Hamdi Adel Wahab versus Chris Barnett. Fun scrap. I would say Hamdi wins that one pretty soundly, and then they're minus 380. You could parlay those two guys together. Chris Barnett, I think, is about done. Kind of a sad story recently with him losing his wife or whatever, but I do think he's about done. Nathaniel Wood versus Jose Miguel Delgado. I don't know a ton about Mr. Delgado here. Nathaniel Wood, I always think, is a pretty well-rounded, pretty sound fighter. 10-1. Wow, decent record. Fun scrap there. Definitely watch that one. That's going to be a real fun fight. Walter Walker versus Louis Sutherland. So this is a matchup from a couple weeks ago. Walter Walker was supposed to fight Muhammad Usman, who tested dirty for steroids, and then Louis Sutherland was supposed to fight Tafa, who got sick last minute. So I guess they slapped these two guys together. Again, another very fun matchup. Louis Sutherland, another big dude out of the UK from Scotland. That's a fun fucking scrap. Walter Walker might go out there and get another freaking heel hook. We'll see. Abdul Karim Al-Sawadi versus Mateusz Kamalov. Don't know, don't care. Ludovic Klein, Mateusz Rebecki. I love me Mateusz Rebecki, but he's been kind of looking like shit lately, and Ludovic Klein's one of these dudes who I think he's only going to lose to the absolute tip-top of the division. Let's go with Ludovic. Ikram Aliskerov versus the Iron Turtle, Jun Young Park. I would say Aliskerov should win that one. Yeah, he's a pretty big favorite. The Iron Turtle's good, but he's kind of a slow, basic fighter, relies on his grappling, and I think Aliskerov has enough grappling to keep her standing on the feet. I think he's going to have a speed and probably a power advantage there. And then last fight on the prelims, Nasrat Hakparast versus Killan Salkid. I don't know. Who cares? Who cares? We've broken down this card enough. Folks, throw me a like, a comment, a follow, a subscribe, do whatever, help a brother out, do something, interact with the algos to push us to the front of the line so that I don't have to work my stupid-ass job anymore. We're making a run for the throne. Appreciate the support either way, folks. Enjoy the fights. We'll put out some bets later this week. Thanks. Peace.